Hello, my name is Michael Smith. Thank you for taking time to view this video. I'd like to invite you to close down Facebook, turn off your cell phone, and give this video your full attention for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to share with you can have an immediate and massive impact on your future. I live in an area where it's really difficult to make a call with AT&T. I love using an iPhone so much, I've put up with poor coverage for years. But when Verizon started carrying the iPhone, I really wanted to make the switch to get better coverage. And the day they shipped my new phone to me, they sent me an email announcing that it was on the way, and they gave me a tracking number. The thing I found striking was a portion of their message which read, "Congratulations, your iPhone is shipped. The moment you've been waiting for is almost here. Amazing without compromise is on its way." And that's precisely how I'd characterize my experience with an AT&T iPhone. It was an amazing device with compromised communication. It reminded me of other experiences I've had in life with that similar combination of amazing and compromise. I'm sure my wife thinks being married to me has both of those values. Hopefully it's slightly tilted more towards the former than the latter. For example, as a former business owner, I viewed the employee-employer relationship as amazing and full of compromise. Employers have to keep a company profitable and sustainable, so they look to cut costs as much as possible, and more or less, this dictates a formula where they are motivated to pay the typical employee as little as possible to keep them with the company and fully engaged. And this amazing with compromise relationship exists on the employee side as well. They want to work as little as possible while extracting the highest compensation from the company. This business structure is the definition of amazing with compromise. Business owners have the benefit of making money off the work of the employees, but it's full of compromises because they have to take all the risks, pay for the benefits, the entitlements, all the taxes, and make sure the company's products are always in demand with marketing. Employees get a salary, and they don't have to worry about the administrative aspects of running a business. But they have compromises too. They suffer the opportunity cost of possibly making more somewhere else, and they have very little, if any, job security. Neither side gets what Verizon is pitching as amazing without compromise. What if you could eliminate the compromise part of the equation with a business structure that fairly compensated everyone for their efforts and everyone shared equitably in the profits, and no one had to worry about trying to impress the boss or getting laid off? And instead of everyone working for one person's benefit, you all worked for your own benefit and the benefit for everyone on the team. Wouldn't it be great if such a structure existed? Not only does it exist, it overcomes one of the biggest weaknesses about most businesses. About 6 years ago, I invested in an equipment leasing company. As investors, we were funding 2 successful employees who were leaving their current employer to strike out on their own, but in the same industry. As investors, we really liked them and we liked the equipment leasing industry, so we made the investment. But can you imagine how their employer felt? The act of them leaving was all above board. They had non-compete agreements and they honored every aspect of them, but nonetheless, they got trained by this company, and they wouldn't have had the skills to start their own company had they not been previously employed by the company that they left. It seems a little unfair, but it's a risk you take in operating a typical business. It's hard to take a side in this argument. You don't want to limit anyone's dream of self-employment, but on the other hand, it's bitterly disappointing as a business owner to make an investment in training someone, enabling them to be a valuable asset in your business, only to see them leave and take money away from your business by competing with you. Not only was the company I invested in competing with its so-called parent company, they were competing with 2 previous generations of companies above them. The person at the top now has a chain of competitors that he directly or indirectly trained. And no matter how much companies try to retain all the profits internally, they can't. And it's because the structure doesn't offer an equal opportunity for people to excel. Within this system, companies will always be training employees who will ultimately leave to compete. One of the most popular companies in the world was started this way. Mark Zuckerberg was employed to develop a website called the Harvard Connection. Allegedly, he studied the site's source code and structure and started Facebook while he was under contract to work for them. The parent company lost out because they didn't provide a vehicle for him to excel. Wouldn't it be a better structure if you realized this up front and you could figure out a way to let the people you train have their freedom and you could continue to make money from their efforts? That would be the best of both worlds, wouldn't it? Well, sometimes it happens. You might see a new company that is formed by paying a royalty or a license fee to the company they worked for previously, But most of the time it doesn't happen that way, and there ends up being a big mess with lawsuits and lots of unhappy people. But network marketing built the solution to this challenge directly into their business model. The best way to retain a leader is to train them well and to provide them with the same or even better opportunity you have. This builds trust and creates a working environment where they have no problem if you earn some rewards from their efforts, because you've enabled them to succeed and removed all the barriers for them to even out-earn you. And they have experienced this mentoring firsthand, and now they're motivated to find and train new partners and see that the pattern continues. Profiting from the efforts of other people is what offers the leverage to really grow wealth in any business. By yourself, you can only do so much in a day. But in a typical business structure, you risk creating a competitor when you teach and train someone. You need to find a structure where teaching and training other people is not a risk, but a reward. When you employ or engage partners instead of competitors, you gain epic leverage. In this model, you help each other and reap the benefits of the other party's work while still maintaining the freedom and the ability to make even more money. It's so powerful that I call it epic leverage. It's epic because it's revolutionary, but epic, E-P-I-C, is also a mnemonic to help me remember why it's so powerful. When I help my kids do their homework, sometimes we'll come up with a mnemonic to help them remember a longer piece of information. Now, the dictionary defines a mnemonic as a learning device such as a pattern of letters to assist in remembering something. For example, to help students remember the order of musical notes, E, G, B, D, and F, some piano teachers use the mnemonic, "Every good boy does fine." There are 5 epic leverage mnemonics I'll share with you to help you evaluate any business and the power of this model. The first one we just covered, epic leverage. Taking the letters from the word epic, E-P-I-C, remember that leverage in business is offered when you engage partners instead of competitors. Epic. That's a simple lesson, but probably the most powerful one I've learned in my career. I like to think of it as the perfect re-engineering of the employee-employer relationship. Epic leverage is a structure where everyone has an equal opportunity to succeed. And it's perfectly efficient in that everyone gets paid for the work they do. Unlike the example I've seen in the equipment leasing business I invested in, where each company saw their most valuable asset, their employees, leave the business once they got trained, you actually want it to happen in network marketing, and you get richly rewarded when it does happen. The second mnemonic in epic leverage is for compounding. Explore the profits in compounding. Archimedes, the Greek mathematician, said, "With a big enough lever and a place to stand, I could move the world." Another brilliant man, Albert Einstein, said, "The most powerful force in the universe is compounding interest." So why is compounding so powerful? When you focus and combine forces, the result of your efforts with the efforts of other people, it really stretches human understanding. Here's a simple example. If you offered someone the choice of getting paid $1 million up front versus getting paid over a month, starting with just a penny a day, but doubling it for 31 days, nearly everyone would take the $1 million. But nearly everyone would be leaving more than $4 million on the table. When you double a penny for 31 days, it comes out to more than $5.3 million. Try to guess how much time it would take to flood Fenway Park in Boston if you started with just a drop of water and doubled it every minute. Imagine the park is waterproof and you're handcuffed to the highest seat in the stadium. How many minutes, days, or weeks before you have to start to tread water? Just 49 minutes. Here's a real-world example of the power of compounding with word-of-mouth marketing. In their most recent quarter, Apple announced the revenue generated from selling iPads is now very close to the same revenue they're generating from Mac sales. They've been selling Macs for 27 years, and they just had their best quarter ever selling Macs. But the iPad generated nearly the same amount of revenue after being out for just the first 9 months. The iPad isn't taking sales away from the Mac, it's creating a whole new device category. And it's caught up to the product line that's been in place for 27 years in just the first 9 months. Few things are as powerful as when people tell their friends about the products they like. You're really the only person you will ever need to recruit. As you become a product of the products, you'll naturally want to expose others to the products, and the compounding has begun. Imagine the compounding power if you had everyone on your team working for just 1 hour a day for the benefit of the team. My good friend has been working in this business for a number of years and has more than 50,000 people on his team. If he has everyone on his team working for just 1 hour, he gets paid for the efforts of 50,000 man-hours. For him to do that much work on his own, it would take 17 years of working 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. One team equaling 17 years worth of work in just 1 hour. Compounding of this magnitude would yield 100 years worth of work and profits in just 6 weeks. All from the effort of one person's team working an hour a day. The world's first billionaire, J. Paul Getty, understood this like no one else. When asked for advice on how to gain wealth, he often stated, "I would rather earn 1% of 100 people's effort than 100% of my own." That's precisely why you need to explore the profits and power in compounding. The third mnemonic in Epic Leverage is for consumable. Embrace products that are intensely consumable. If your product were silverware, how often would you expect to have return customers based on the product wearing out? Not very often. If you have a non-consumable product, once you make a sale, you're basically out of business until your product breaks. And that kind of built-in obsolescence isn't going to make your customers very happy. If you want to have success, your product needs to either go up in smoke or down the drain, meaning it must be consumable. For you to earn money on an ongoing basis, you need to be aligned with products that are not only best of breed in their category, but also those needing to be replenished, which is why you should embrace products that are intensely consumable. The fourth mnemonic in Epic Leverage is for unique. Eschew products in Costco or convenience stores. Sorry for using a $10 word, the silly things we have to do to keep a mnemonic alive. Eschew means to deliberately avoid, and you want to deliberately avoid aligning with products that are available in Costco or in convenience stores. If the product you're offering can be purchased elsewhere, you end up competing on price and convenience. And that's a dangerous game where Amazon.com and large supermarket chains can crush you with their efficiencies and their purchasing power. Look at how Apple is able to charge nearly double for the comparable Windows product. Their unique and stable user experience commands a premium. A simple test or question for uncovering this vital bit of information from a prospective company is to say, hey, how many scientists do you have? Any company with a pattern of innovating will have a lot of engineers and scientists who consistently produce unmatched products. Make sure you eschew products in Costco and in convenience stores in favor of companies with truly unique products. The fifth mnemonic in Epic Leverage is for trends and timing. Execute plans in favor of crowds. The biggest crowd to affect buying patterns in the history of the world is the baby boomer generation. About 450 million people worldwide were born between 1946 and 1964. That's a crowd. This group is sometimes referred to as the pig in the python. The sheer demographics of the baby boomers drove trends as they aged. When they were babies, Gerber sold 1 million jars of baby food a week. When they learned to walk, Buster Brown grew their shoe business by 500%. And they made real estate prices soar at unprecedented rates when they became first-time homebuyers. As this pig passed through the python, or as boomers moved through their life cycle, the economic effects were profound. Fortunes have been made by large corporations, small businesses, anyone who focused on where this pig was in the python, or simply by anticipating what boomers wanted next. This same group that made the Beatles the largest band in history and turned pizza into a massive industry when they were teenagers, later turned to health-conscious products as they began to feel their youth slipping away. Today they're obsessed with looking and feeling younger. Boomers spend $170 billion across all products in the anti-aging industry last year, and it's projected to grow to $400 billion in the next few years. Boomers control more than 70% of all the wealth and account for more than 50% of consumer spending. Market trends indicate baby boomers have been product guzzlers for decades. From diapers to cars, this generation has impacted markets in all categories. Now more than ever, they're determined to fight the aging process, and they're leaving their mark on the health and wellness industry. They realize that without supplementation and skincare, they're exposed to the signs of aging, and there are 10,000 of them turning 60 years old every day. And this is going to go on for the next 15 years. So I hope you can see why one of the most critical elements of Epic Leverage in any business is to execute plans in favor of crowds. Let me summarize what we've discussed. First is leverage, and the mnemonic is to engage partners instead of competitors. Second is compounding, or to explore the profits in compounding. Third is the idea of consumable, or to embrace products that are intensely consumable. Fourth is unique, or to eschew products in Costco and convenience stores. And fifth is trends and timing, and the mnemonic is to execute plans in favor of crowds. If you can grasp these 5 concepts, you're ahead of a lot of business owners, and more importantly, you now know how to evaluate a business concept. If you'd like something to help you remember all the concepts in just one mnemonic, think of the keyword for each idea: competing, compounding, consumable, unique, and crowds, and form the mnemonic CCC-UC. And think of the phrase, competing compounds consume unique crowds. A nonsense phrase like this really helps me to recall new concepts, and oftentimes the more bizarre, the better. So maybe you can think of 2 compounds, H2O and CO2, that are competing to consume unique crowds. Competing compounds consume unique crowds. Now you have a shorthand phrase to help you remember the components of epic leverage, and a framework that will help you to analyze opportunities. I just want to finish with a bonus concept, and as luck would have it, I have an epic mnemonic for it too. The concept is simply to take action now. Take a step today to free yourself from the time limitations and financial bondage of just having a job, or in epic leverage terms, escape punitive incarceration for capitalism. Take the first step today toward being your own boss. Real unemployment in the US is actually twice the number stated by the government, which doesn't include people who haven't been looking for a job in the last 30 days or those who have just part-time jobs. Including those 2 groups, real unemployment sits at 23%. The New York Times recently said there are 5 unemployed people for every job listing. Even worse, the data suggests companies aren't hiring for that one job the 5 people are applying for. They're still in wait-and-see mode. Financial analyst Meredith Whitney describes our job forecast as a perpetual cycle of weakness. Job destruction leads to foreclosures, which lead to lower real estate values, which in turn means lower tax revenue for state governments, which then experience budget shortfalls, and that means spending has to be cut and taxes raised, which leads to reduced spending by consumers, and that puts us back to the top and into another loop of the cycle, because when consumers don't spend, more jobs are cut. If jobs weren't a problem, we'd have Social Security weighing us down. Back when it was created in 1935, there were 42 workers for every person retiring. That's when the program made sense and actually worked. Today there are only 3 workers for every retiree, which means it's going to be impossible for us to retire on Social Security. Time magazine recently reported a 55-year-old man with typical drug expenses needs about $187,000 just to supplement what Medicare won't cover. And because of greater longevity, a 65-year-old woman needs even more, a staggering $213,000 to cover her health insurance premiums and out-of-pocket health expenses. That's not the money needed for retirement, it's the money needed just for her medical expenses during retirement. I didn't share all this information with you today to scare you. I shared it simply because it's a reality. And you can take action to buffer yourself against these challenges. You have 2 choices. You can hide your head in the sand and ignore it like a lot of people are doing, or you can see the situation for what it is and take responsibility for your life and take back your free time and your financial future. What we are seeing is a great divide between classes, a divide between the rich and the poor, and the determining factor for which group you'll belong to is not how much money you have in your bank account, it's not which neighborhood you live in. It's whether or not you take action in the right opportunity or not. More people became millionaires during the Great Depression than at any other time in American history. It's actually the best opportunity you're ever going to have in your lifetime to become very wealthy, if you know how, if you know what to do. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the single most important part of the presentation. If you're not leaning forward in your chair, please do so now. What's your next move? I want to work with you. There's only one expectation or requirement I have, and that's that you take responsibility for your future. I have no tolerance for whiners, complainers, excuse makers, or people who blame others for their problems. I surround myself with positive people who are constantly seeking to better themselves. And if you think the same way, then we're a match. and I would love to work with you. The real value of this association is that you're going to be changing your subconscious mindset and your relationship with wealth and prosperity. It's a well-known fact that the kind of money you're going to make over the next 2 to 5 years is going to be the average of the 5 people you're associating most with right now. The real power of being associated with our team is that it gives you a direct line to some of the most respected and wealthy people in the industry. And you'll have an opportunity to spend quality time with them on a regular basis. And as you do so, your thinking is going to change, your attitude is going to change, your relationships are going to change, and your income is going to change. If you decide to wait, well, the results are obvious. You're going to wake up tomorrow in exactly the same spot you're in today. Get out a piece of paper and write down what you want and what you're willing to do to get it. You want enthusiasm back in your life? I'll tell you how to get it. Send the link to this video out enough times to find 5 motivated people. Teach them how you did that, and you're on your way. You'll soon be surrounded by the most enthusiastic people because you sparked something in them to help them get their freedom back. You'll experience the real happiness that only comes from helping other people do great things. Please get back to me today. Let me know where you're at, A, B, or C. C is no thanks, and that's perfectly fine. I wish you continued success in the things you pursue. B is maybe. I want to experience the product first. If you're an A, you're ready. Maybe you still have some questions, but learning by doing is the best teacher. Join us. You'll be glad you did. I want to thank you for viewing this video. I hope you found it to be useful information and that you feel a little better equipped to evaluate business opportunities within a practical framework. I genuinely enjoy working with you. Call me at the number below or send me an email with your phone number and a couple of times where I can best reach you. This is Michael Smith wishing you a bright and prosperous future.